Hello? Hi there, Dr. Powers. Thank you for taking the time to see me today. I've been losing sleep over this whole thing. I'm hearing rumors that homosexuality might be contagious, and it's really got me anxious about my kids. Is it possible that by simply being around gay people, my children could, become gay?
Hi, Linda. Delighted to chat, though the subject is certainly interesting. Contagious homosexuality isn't exactly a phrase I see every day. I do appreciate your honesty and your courage in bringing up a topic that many people are too shy or too angry to address. I'm happy to provide some clarity, hopefully in a way that lets you sleep again.
Well, it started when my oldest son, Jake, he's 14, brought home a flyer from his school's new LGBTQ plus club. I got this uneasy feeling. I mean, I have no problem with people being gay or anything. But do I want my kid to join the club? What if that environment influences him somehow? Am I being paranoid?
I understand your concern as a parent, but let me assure you, the best scientific evidence we have suggests that one's sexual orientation isn't something that you can catch from a flyer or from being in close proximity to gay people. We don't have a virus called Homo-19 floating around, though that might make for an interesting dystopian novel.
I guess that's a relief. But I've read online, though I'm sure you'll say that's not always accurate, that the more young people see these examples, the more they question themselves and might become gay. My mother calls it monkey see, monkey do.
Well, the internet is full of expert opinions, but not all are grounded in actual research. Questioning one's identity can be part of normal adolescence. If anything, representation helps kids who are gay feel less isolated. It doesn't manufacture a new orientation in kids who aren't. It's similar to how seeing left-handed people doesn't suddenly turn right-handed folks into lefties.
So you're saying there's zero possibility of contagion? Forgive me if I sound stubborn. I just want to be absolutely sure.
No worries, Linda. Let's dive into the science more deeply. Genetic influences. Research, including twin studies, has suggested there is a genetic component to sexual orientation. While we haven't discovered a single gay gene, certain gene markers can predispose someone towards same-sex attraction. If orientation were purely a social contagion, identical twins raised together would almost always share the exact same orientation. But in reality, it's more complex. Some twins share orientation, some don't. Genetics is a piece of the puzzle, not the entire picture, but it's definitely relevant. Prenatal hormones. Scientists also examine the role of hormonal influences in the womb. Variations in prenatal hormone exposure might affect brain development, thus impacting future orientation. This process is not something that can be altered by, say, watching a TV show or hanging out with certain friends. Epigenetics and environment. The environment matters for how a person expresses or understands their orientation, not for creating it out of thin air. Factors like family support, social acceptance, and cultural norms influence whether an individual feels safe to explore or reveal who they are. But none of this is about infecting someone with gayness.
So, basically, if my son is straight, he won't magically become gay from joining that club. If he's actually gay, he was probably always gay?
Exactly. Exposure to supportive environments doesn't change your orientation. It just affects how safe or confident you feel in expressing it. If your child is gay, all the anti-gay messaging in the world won't make him fundamentally straight, just unhappy and afraid. Conversely, if he's straight, having gay friends or attending an LGBTQ plus club won't flip a switch. He might learn empathy, broaden his worldview, or pick up some fabulous fashion tips, but he won't become gay just because of exposure.
What about stories I've heard where someone claims they turned gay after college, or because they fell in with a certain group of friends?
I'd wager what they describe is a discovery or acceptance rather than a transformation. A lot of folks, especially from conservative backgrounds, might repress or not realize their orientation for a long time. Then they go to college, meet diverse people, learn new perspectives, and realize, oh, this is who I am. It's more about recognizing something within themselves than copying someone else.
Huh, that's interesting. My sister told me she has a coworker who was married to a man but eventually came out as a lesbian. She said it was the result of bad influences from other lesbians at her gym. But maybe that's a misunderstanding too?
Likely, If she eventually came out as a lesbian, she probably had those feelings for years but wasn't comfortable or ready to be open about them. Meeting others who shared that orientation might have validated her feelings, but it didn't plant them like a bizarre gay seed.
Gay seed? That'd be an odd gardening project.
Indeed. Keep that in the realm of imagination right alongside Homo 19.
I did read about social contagion in psychology, like how things like panic or certain behaviors can spread within groups. Isn't it possible something similar happens with sexual orientation?
Social contagion is a real phenomenon, but it usually applies to emotional states like anxiety or excitement, or behaviors like fad diets, trending TikTok dances, or mass hysterias. Orientation is not a fleeting behavior or a passing mood. It's a core aspect of identity. Over time, scientific consensus has concluded that orientation doesn't shift so easily.
But kids do mimic each other so much. One day, my daughter insisted she was a vegetarian because her best friend is. Then she gave up 2 days later because she missed chicken nuggets.
Sure, children and adults mimic surface-level behaviors all the time. But orientation isn't a matter of, hey, that's cool, let me try it. Oh wait, never mind. If your daughter was actually deeply drawn to vegetarian ethics or disliked meat for other reasons, that'd stick. But she's not going to physically and emotionally rewire her identity just by hanging around a vegetarian friend for a week. Same principle with sexual orientation.
Okay, so let's assume you're right. Still, if I discourage my kids from watching or reading LGBTQ+ content, at least they won't be confused, right?
I'd gently caution you that restricting that content might cause more harm than good. Curiosity is normal, and if the content is age-appropriate, it can serve as a healthy education about diversity in the world. Refusing them exposure might send the message that LGBTQ+ people are wrong or dangerous. That can breed prejudice or shame, especially if one of your kids does happen to be gay.
I just don't want them to face confusion or bullying at school. I guess I hadn't really thought about how restricting access could make them ashamed. But what if they aren't gay at all? Then seeing all this LGBTQ+ stuff might give them a complex or a headache, right?
Let's flip that question. If your kids are straight, seeing LGBTQ+ content only broadens their empathy. They learn that different identities exist. They won't spontaneously decide they're gay if they aren't actually wired that way. Think about how many women watch men's sports. Some might even admire or have crushes on male athletes. That doesn't automatically make them decide to become male or adopt male behaviors. We can watch, empathize, and appreciate different identities without changing our own.
That's a good analogy, actually. So, empathy, not conversion.
Exactly.
I also heard that gay people have higher rates of depression or anxiety sometimes. Could it be that it's a disease in some sense?
There's a difference between a disease in the medical sense and higher incidence of mental health challenges due to social stigma, discrimination, or lack of acceptance. Many studies show that minority stress, the stress of being part of a stigmatized group, can lead to higher rates of depression and anxiety. That doesn't mean being gay itself is pathological. It means society can be unwelcoming, which takes a toll on mental health.
So it's more about how they're treated than about who they are?
Precisely. If you're constantly told you're wrong or subjected to bullying, that can definitely affect your mental well-being. But the root cause isn't the orientation, it's the environment.
I see. Well, if one of my kids did come out as gay, I'd still love them. I just worry I'd do something wrong or say something that hurts them. Maybe I'm being too controlling about this.
Linda, you're here because you care deeply about your kids. That's evident. It's perfectly okay to have questions and concerns. The best approach is open communication. Let your kids know they can talk to you about anything. And if you disagree with certain aspects of their life, you can voice that respectfully without shutting them down.
That's comforting. I guess if I'm honest, part of me was just scared of the unknown. I didn't want them turning gay overnight. But it sounds like that's not how any of this works.
Absolutely not. Sleep is for rest, not for orientation transformations. No alarm clock that goes off at 6 a.m. and you're suddenly gay.
Now that would be a rude awakening. Time to rise and, yeah, you're gay now.
I'd love to see that sci-fi flick and
Is this fear new, Or have people always believed being gay is some kind of infection or social threat?
Throughout history, there have been myths, like ancient claims that being around effeminate men could influence others, or that women who dressed a certain way could spread lesbianism. In the 20th century, certain propaganda even called homosexuality a societal contagion that needed to be stamped out. Those were fear-based narratives, often used politically or socially to justify discrimination.
So not exactly new.
Far from it, but over time, science, medical associations, and human rights organizations have debunked these myths. Both the American Psychological Association, APA, and World Health Organization, WHO, have clearly stated homosexuality is a natural variation of human sexuality, not a disease, mental disorder, or anything transmissible.
Got it. So my grandmother's old stories about how girls go gay if they hang around that spinster aunt is basically nonsense?
Sounds like Grandma was repeating a cultural myth. Your spinster aunt probably had her own orientation, but she wasn't spreading it like a seasonal flu.
I have to admit, learning all this actually makes me feel a bit lighter, almost like a weight's been lifted. It's just, you read so many headlines. People tweet that the gay agenda is coming for our kids. It's easy to fall into the panic, you know?
Fear often stems from not understanding. When we don't understand something, we label it as a threat. That's why open conversations like this are so crucial. Once you see there's no gay microbe lurking behind the rainbow flags, it's easier to breathe.
Yeah, it is. You've been super patient with me, doctor. Thank you.
That's my job. We all come from different backgrounds, and I'd rather people ask questions than stew in misconceptions.
So, in summary, my kids can't catch gayness from their gay cousin, gay club, or gay TV characters. If they happen to be gay, that's who they are. And if they're straight, they remain straight.
Bingo. No magical transformations, no top-secret infiltration. It's not an illness, just a normal part of the diverse human experience.
I might still keep an eye on that cousin's questionable fashion sense. Not because it's gay, but because I'm not sure neon socks and sequined vests match anything.
Fair critique. Taste can sometimes be questionable, but hey, that's the fun of personal expression. Just keep in mind that questionable fashion is definitely contagious. We've seen entire schools wearing neon scrunchies before.
Oh no, I think that's the real epidemic.
Call the CDC, we've got a scrunchie outbreak.
Thank you again, Dr. Powers. This conversation has really changed my perspective. I guess I'll let my son decide for himself about that LGBTQ plus club. Maybe I'll even ask him about it. Find out what they do there.
I'd encourage that. Honest communication goes a long way. Who knows, maybe they host some cool movie nights or discussions that even you might find interesting. Understanding each other's viewpoints fosters compassion, not confusion.
Yeah, maybe. But I'll skip the neon socks if they start passing them around. Some trends are best avoided.
That's a sensible boundary. Good luck, Linda. I'm confident your kids are in good hands with a parent who cares enough to learn the facts.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Remember, sexual orientation is not a disease, a phase, or something you can catch. It's simply part of the beautiful tapestry of human diversity. If you found this video helpful, drop a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more enlightening and occasionally amusing conversations.